Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. It's a good day when we have folks on like Words Alive to talk about the wonderful things they're doing to enhance literacy in our community. Joining us is Melinda Cooper, Program Director for Words Alive. How you doing, Melinda?
Doing just great. Thank you for having me on this morning.
Of course, thanks for coming in and joined by one of the most important folks involved in the organization. That's volunteer, and that's Jim McIlhon. So, Jim, you've been involved with them for how long?
I'm in my 6th year right now.
6th year.
Yep.
What got you interested in working out with Words Alive?
Well, I after I retired, I was interested in a way to engage with the community. I was already in an organization that serves needy seniors, and I was.
Which one was that?
Meals on Wheels. So
of course,
I deliver Meals on Wheels in North
Debbie
County.
Case. Oh, yeah, of course.
And so I was looking for a way to get engaged with the youth. And actually, at a Meals on Wheels appreciation event, I was at a table, and a woman there was a read aloud reader. So with Words Alive, and she hooked him up with the organization. I went through the orientation. And I've been a read aloud reader in the UTK grade level for now 6 years.
No, that's fantastic. Thanks for your work in that area. Melinda, how long have you been involved with Words Alive?
About 2 years now.
Right.
I like to say I am a large toddler in Words Alive years because the organization itself has been around since 1999 and is a bit of an institution now at this point. So that we have volunteers who've been here for much longer than I have, who I'm constantly learning from and with. And I'm just real thrilled to be a part of the changes that are happening around our county and the way that we involve community members in being a part of the solution.
No, I think that stuff is great. We had Jose Cruz on here last week.
We love Jose.
Right.
Shout out Jose.
Right. And I've been involved with the Council on Literacy pretty much almost since its inception. When I worked for the Union Tribune, Mrs. Copley was one of the founding members of the Council on Literacy with Brian Bilbray, who was a city councilor at the time, and then I was on the board. I'm still on the advisory board of the group, and so it's always good. I think I said.
So you're a book nerd.
Well, I was a billion years ago. I was past president of the Greater San Diego Reading Association. So I worked for the school district in between my journalism stuff and working for the media. But always, listen, if you're going to work for the San Diego Union Tribune, you better have a literate society or else you're out of business, effective immediately. And so I've always been passionate about that, and that's great. Talk about the mission, Melinda, of Words Alive.
Words Alive is dedicated to making reading fun and accessible for kids, teens, and families across San Diego. And we want to make reading fun because we want to make it a habit. And we want people to keep doing it so that we can have a culture of reading, right? So that we have communities of readers across our fine city and the region who are able to engage civically and advocate for themselves and also be inspired by literature and the arts. And we believe that reading is the foundation of leading a free and full life. And it's our mission to co-create that life with our families and our communities.
Yeah, listen, it's the lifeblood of almost anything, being literate and being able to read, and especially in this very confounding digital world we are in. The gap is just going to get bigger. You guys know this. I'm preaching to the congregation on this. So what you folks do, providing access to people to really enjoy the written word, whatever it is written on, is so important in this. Jim, when you work with some of the folks that you read aloud, do they have their own books? Do you provide books? How does that work?
So the way the curriculum works at Words Alive, each of the schools where we participate, and they're all Title I schools, there's a bin. So and those bins contain the books. They're dedicated week by week by week. So each week when I go into my school, which is actually nearby here in Mira Mesa, I know which book I'm going to read, and there's resources I can actually go to online to brush up on the book, look at a resource guide that gives me ideas on engagement with the kids while I read, information about the author or illustrator, and activities I can use with the kids to increase the engagement and the fun.
Right. Do the kids ever walk away with a book?
So we do book giveaways 3 times a year. That's always an exciting day for me. We do it in the winter session and then once in the spring and then the last week before that we break for the summer.
Yeah. One of the things, Melinda, we were chatting about, and every time Jose's on the air, we talk about how it's important for that kid, many coming from Title I schools or, even more impoverished in that aspect of it, who've never had a book. And it sort of stuns people when we talk about this. What do you mean they never had a book? I goes, oh no, they're families that there's no books. And then when they get a book, it's their book. It's not my cousin's book. It's not my aunt's book. It's not my
That's right.
brother's. It's my book. Talk about how important that is.
Thank you. It reminds me of a story one of our Read Aloud volunteers shared in talking to the teacher, and we heard it from the teacher later because we conduct interviews at the end of the year to help analyze the program. But the feedback was that several children in this teacher's class and in this volunteer's class, at the end of the year, the teachers kind of clean out the backpacks and make sure everything is out of there or all the papers are turned in. And she found several kids who had been carrying around all 3 of their book giveaways in their backpacks every day to and from wherever they were coming or going from because they didn't want brother or sister to take them, or they didn't want to forget it at auntie's house or wherever else they might be coming or staying from. Kids that we serve are coming, they're real life people. So they have real lives and they're coming from communities that have been systemically disadvantaged in historically and have been underserved by resources such as literacy, many, many other issues regarding equity, and getting books into the hands of kids who are coming from an unstable living situation, it means a lot to those kids, is what we're hearing from the teachers and from the volunteers. But overall, just in general, it's really fun. When we give a book away, we're also giving it with a curriculum-backed learning kit that is a craft that ties back into the title that the kids are reading about. So they're able to make connections between what they're reading and their worlds. And we're choosing books, right, Mr. Jim? We're choosing books that are relevant to the lived experiences of the kids that we serve, and whenever possible, also in the language of that the child or family speaks at home.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. We're chatting with Melinda Cooper, Program Director for Words Alive, joined by her colleague Jim McIlhon. He is a volunteer, 6 years of volunteer for Words Alive. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We're on the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. When you talk about the languages, there's about 6 zillion languages spoken in San Diego County or something to that effect. Not quite 6 zillion, but
it's a lot. Yeah, we're a very diverse community.
But it's a lot. So, Jim, when if you find books in different languages, are you the one reading to the student? Do you have a translator there? How does that work?
So I only read books that are in English.
Right.
But we do have resources for instance, Spanish language through our family literacy program,
right,
which Michelle can give you a lot of detail on. But in that program, it's divided between English and Spanish language readers. But the books that I read aloud to the
Right.
UTK kids are all in English.
Right. And, we know Tagalog, at least it used to be when I was working for city schools, is the third most popular language in San Diego County. I think it still is.
That's right. We're seeing a lot of Vietnamese now as well as Somali,
Right.
and a growing Haitian Creole population. So we actually do have read aloud readers who are bilingual and are reading in bilingual classrooms. Most of them are in and around the Barrio Logan area. However, we're always trying to make sure that our family-facing material is available in the language that the family needs.
Right.
And usually, most families, the overwhelming majority, are speaking English to some extent. However, many are also speaking Spanish or other languages, lots and lots of bilingual families here in San Diego. And so we have a team of volunteer curriculum writers, translators, and designers who help to translate our materials for families in up to 10 different languages, so that even if we're reading the book in English, hopefully the materials that are going home to the families are going home in the language that is accessible to them, so that as they're getting their reading kit with suggested extension activities that they can do at home to make the reading more fun with their kid, that's in their home language, the language that they speak at home.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come back from break. Melinda and Jim, let's talk about the state of literacy.
Yes, let's get into it.
Jose gave us his 2 cents on that last week. I'm sure that'll align very closely to yours. And then really want to hit it hard. Jim, you can talk about this, and you can add to it about volunteerism. You had 1,000 plus folks volunteering, and that is so critical with almost any nonprofit about this. Something I really want to hammer home. Reading should be fun. It should not be looked at as, I gotta read. Are you kidding me? No, it should be the exact opposite. I can't wait to, tackle this, whatever the it is in this aspect. And then we always save time in the second half of the Spotlight show. Melinda and Jim, what can our listeners do to support your efforts? And so ask for the world. That's what we're here for. Absolutely. Return with Melinda Cooper and Jim McIlhon, but both from Words Alive. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and we will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union and its wonderful Mission Fed studios here in Scripps Ranch. And Mission Fed for more than 6 decades, always doing cool things for San Diego folks living in our beautiful county. We are chatting with Melinda Cooper, Program Director for Words Alive, joined by her colleague, Jim McIlhon. He is a volunteer. And right before break, Melinda, you were going to give us a little bit of the state of literacy in our county.
All right. Well, friends, the news isn't great. It's never been great. And so this isn't new news. It's more of the same news, unfortunately. In San Diego, half of kids in Title I schools are not reading on grade level by the end of 3rd grade. That's an important metric because the end of 3rd grade is when you start reading to learn and can start moving into chapter books, graphic novels, that sort of thing. And kids who can't read at grade level by that age start to get left behind, and we start to see learning losses. However, when we look at the number of kiddos who can't read on grade level by ethnicity, we see that it's closer to 2/3 of kids from Black and brown communities are not able to read on grade level by the end of 3rd grade. And while there are many systemic issues at play that we cannot control or that we don't have a lot of control over, reading is one of them we can control. And creating a culture of reading in our communities for kids, regardless of zip code or ethnicity or status, we can do that. That is something that we can do, not just me as a nonprofit professional, but as a Jim, a concerned community citizen, community member, and the dozens of other Read Aloud volunteers just like him are a part of the solution. And we have a lot of different volunteer opportunities because we want to give people from diverse backgrounds different pathways to get involved into the organization. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. We believe that the community can and should be a part of the literacy crisis here in San Diego. And we are looking to the future, trying to make sure that our volunteers also reflect the lived experiences of the kids and families who we serve. So trying to meet folks where they are in their native language is extremely important. Trying to get into the schools that have been systemically disinvested in the most is very important as well. Right. And continuing to go deeper with the schools where we already are, where we already serve hundreds of kids at certain schools. I want to serve more because we have more programs. We've got the Read Aloud program, the family literacy program, and the book group program for youth and teens. And I want every kid to have one of our books in San Diego.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think this community needs to be bullish on literacy.
That's right.
Unrelentingly bullish. And it should be top of mind 24/7, 365, 10 decades, 100 centuries or whatever.
Well, it's connected to everything. It's connected to poverty, mass incarceration, impact by the justice system, all that stuff.
Yeah. And, listen, if nothing else, it's an economic issue.
Yes.
You get folks who are literate, who are contributing to society, fill in the blank about what's going to happen. Now, this is nothing new. And, we've talked about this quite a bit. I was fortunate enough when I was at the Union Tribune, we put on a Union Tribune Dr. Seuss Race for Literacy for years and raised money for the Council on Literacy and quite a bit of money.
Cool.
But more importantly, it got the word out about how critical this is, like you guys do and you guys can talk about all the time. And so I agree 100% on it. You can't talk about this enough. You got to talk about it every day. And, and you're right. Get a book in front of someone. That's right. Yeah, this stuff works. Jim, talk about volunteerism. And obviously you are a poster child for that with Meals on Wheels, of course, and now with Words Alive. One of the things we've been chatting about for 18 years, when people go, well, I'm not sure if I can provide any value volunteering. I said, you can, whether it's 1 hour a week, whether it's 2 hours a month.
That's right.
And you'll continue to grow. Talk about how important that is.
Well, first I want to give a plug for all the volunteers at Words Alive because they come from diverse backgrounds and stuff. But there are some folks that when they hear about Words Alive, and particularly as it relates to the Read Aloud program, they think, well, I'm not a teacher. I wasn't in the education environment. And I'm here to say, I was just corporate Joe in a sales career, and
a corporate Jim.
Yeah, that's right.
Corporate Jim. And but I love to read. I have a little bit of performance in me.
He's very good. He's selling himself short.
And
tell he is. Yeah.
So to be in front of the kids, and the driver, right, for me, because I work with the UTK and pre-K classrooms. So
Right.
these are between 3 and 5-year-olds. So it's really to engage them and get them to love the act of reading. And knowing that right now, they're at this point in their life, they're going to be read to rather than reading. But introduce them to the books itself, the idea of patterns, rhyming, predictive text, like what's going to happen next. So I love it. Words Alive made it very easy for me. They have a great orientation program that prepares you for reading to groups. And I would say to anyone, like if they're interested in impacting literacy in San Diego, to look them up. And if reading to kids isn't your thing, there's all kinds of other positions. We even have folks called page turners that they review books to see if they'd be a good match for our curriculum and different grade levels. We have people that write those resource guides that I use to help me prepare for my classroom sessions. All kinds of different avenues to take with Words Alive if you want to get engaged. And in fact, we have people from all across the country that work with us, not just those based in San Diego.
Especially that Page Turners program that you mentioned. There's people all over the country and the world who are participating in that, from teens who are needing their service hours to corporations doing it as a diversity initiative or an ERG experience, to just like mothers with teens or parents and teens who are doing it as an experience to do together. So yeah, we shout out Page Turner's program. We love to have virtual opportunities because during the pandemic, we had to shift fully to virtual, right? And a lot of that stuff, like, it works, so we're keeping it. Like, we're not keeping everything, but we're not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater either.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that was so cool in a very difficult pandemic was how many different businesses said, you know what, I'm going to implement this when we get out of this.
Okay? Yeah, that's right.
Because I never thought about doing X, Y, and Z. And unfortunately, sometimes things like that force you to think differently and you don't have a choice in that case. But why am I getting rid of this? This thing was great. This thing really worked. And certainly a lot of the virtual things fall into that, especially when it comes to literacy and reading. We're chatting with Melinda Cooper, Program Director for Words Alive, joined by our colleague Jim McIlhon. He is the volunteer par excellence at Words Alive of many volunteers. I'm Drew Schlosberg, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. You know, something that in my role a billion years ago with being a president of the Reading Association, people would say, well, what type of books should people read? And I said, ones that make them smile and laugh. That's right. Start with that, okay? And at any age, my kid loves to read Mad Magazine, beautiful, okay? Or whatever the case. Now, I'm dating myself. People now are going to the Googler and going, what the heck is Mad Magazine? Jim knows what it is.
I read Reader's Digest, so you're in good company.
Okay, very, very good over here, right? And the highlights and all that. No, but talk about reading should be fun. It should not be looked at anything but fun, correct?
Correct. That's right. Oh, yeah. And there are fantastic people who it is their job to teach how to read, the science of reading, which, as we know, is incredibly important. Yes, phonics, phonemic awareness, sounding out words. It's very important. But we don't do that. We let the teachers do the teaching and the tutors do the tutoring. We are just here to make it fun. Think about Mrs. Frizzle from the Magic School Bus. Think about LeVar Burton from Reading Rainbow. We're coming in with that energy. If I'm substituting for a reader, which they don't let me do too much anymore because I got paperwork to do, but it's one of my favorite things to do in the world. If I'm reading a book about a dinosaur, I'm going to wear my dinosaur dress. If I'm wearing the very impatient caterpillar, I'm going to wear my butterfly dress. There you go. You know what I mean? I know Jim brings stuffed animal props from his grandkids that go along with the story. There was a recent giraffe story that I read that I truly loved.
Yes. Gerard.
Gerard, yeah. And so they have to be fun, and what's helpful, especially as we look towards middle and high school readers, but all readers of every level, is that the story reflects their own lived experience. So if you look at our reading list for middle and high school students, you'll see some classics, sure. Last year, we read Night and Gift of the Magi at Monarch School in one of our 11th grade classes. However, we're also trying to bring books that are new, that are fresh, that are relevant. We're dabbling in graphic novels. We're dabbling in bilingual books that are available in Spanish and in English, which is always a challenge. If you ever have anyone on from the publishing industry, please tell them I'd like to have a conversation. It can be very difficult to find books in languages besides English at an affordable rate because they often aren't printed in larger quantities, which creates an equity issue in publishing. But we're always seeking out authors and stories who can tell the stories that are fun while also reflecting the lived experiences of the kids that we serve. So sometimes I'll have people ask, does every book have to have a message? I mean, I think it does. Like kind of even if the message is just like be nice to your friends, right? That's the message. Like for example, like Nugget and Fang. Have you read that one?
Not yet.
Anyway, super fun book, Nugget and Fang. It's very much just about not judging people and being friendly and kind. Where we also have a book called The Proudest Blue, which is about a couple of young girls wearing hijab, which is a little bit more complex of a subject than say Nugget and Fang. It's a shark and a minnow who are trying to be friends, but they both still have a meaning. And so we're looking for books with meaning that are relevant to the kids so that they can see themselves in them, so that they'll want to keep reading them. Because if they don't see themselves in it, they're not going to want to keep reading it. Like the example someone used to me recently was Holden Caulfield from Catcher in the Rye.
Absolutely.
Like that's not relevant to the kids that we're serving here in San Diego. Like it's a great story. Would love to see a different adaptation of it. And this author who I spoke to recently had done a book. But that's the main thing is we want to tell new stories that are relevant, but that are also fun and timely.
Yeah. Well, I think what it comes down to is actually it's either the volunteer who is maybe helping make some meaning out of some of this.
Right.
But, I'm a big fan of just what experience does the kid get out of it? Listen, I used to bristle when my English teachers back in the day, I'm a lot older than both of you, would say, this is what the author meant. What, were you there?
Oh, God, I hate that.
Were you there when Thoreau was writing Walden?
Yes.
So, you might be because you're old, but I don't know. And I would just say, let me interpret it the way I want to interpret it, for God's sake. At least I'm reading something.
That's right. My background is in Shakespeare, and I've had the same my whole life, is people always trying to tell you what Shakespeare meant. And I'm like, no, thank you. I'll decide for myself.
Exactly. Right. Because you weren't there. Right. Exactly. And so forth. But anyway, the bottom line is it's great what you guys are doing. What can our listeners do to support your efforts, Melinda?
Thank you so much for asking.
Yes.
We have drop-in volunteer service events at our headquarters, which are now in the East Village of National City, or the East Village of San Diego.
Right.
And you can log on to our website, and you can also go to the Hands-On website to look for volunteer opportunities to just do a drop-in and kind of get around the vibe and see if you like it, and you will. Otherwise, I have memorized the link so that I can yell it at the top of my voice at said in-person service events, because we're always trying to recruit people from our service events, whether they're corporate or community-based, to come in as classroom readers, as curriculum writers, as page turners, any other type of volunteerism. We've even had people say, I'm a data scientist, how can I help? And I'm like, great, you go here. We have something for everyone. Go to www.wordsalive.org/become a volunteer to get involed.
Right. And can people contribute money? Will you turn down money?
Well,
absolutely. Come on.
I am a terrible fundraiser. I am a program director by trade. Thank you so much for that prompt. We are driven by donations.
Yes, you are.
We are supported by foundations like San Diego Foundation, Dr. Seuss Foundation, Gumpert Foundation, many other kind, generous donors. Many of our readers, like Jim, are also our donors. And one thing that I think we are discussing, at least internally, and in terms of the long-term sustainability of the organization and the literacy mission in general, is that it's going to take a village. We need $10 from individual donors. We need $5 from individual donors. Just like your campaigns out there trying to raise money for politics, no amount is too small.
Grassroots.
It's the same thing for literacy. Grassroots. That's right. It's going to take the whole community, not just the folks at the top, to be a part of the solution.
Well, that's great. Shout out the website one more time.
www.wordsaLive.org/become-a-volunteer.
Well, Melinda Cooper and Jim McIlhon, thank you so much for what you're doing to enhance literacy in our region and really get everybody, families involved, kids involved, and everybody in between in something that is so critical to us. Promise me that you folks will come back on and maybe bring in somebody that has benefited from Words Alive. Maybe it's a family, or it's a student, or maybe someone that wants to share, this is what this book meant to me when Jim read it to me, and so forth. Very seriously, because it's touched someone's lives.
For sure.
We'll look forward to having you back.
And thanks to you and to Mission Fed for all of the important work that you do to support the community and to uplift the voices.
Well, absolutely. It's our honor to do that. Thank you so much. I've been chatting with Melinda Cooper and Jim McIlhon from Words Alive. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest running community podcast. We're now in our 18th year. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.